As dads, we are hella busy. We are what is known as time poor. Sometimes we are also just poor. So what if there was a quick way to be better with money that didn't involve spending any of your precious time having to learn calculations or doing any maths? What if you could increase your money skills simply by changing the way you think about money? I'm Doug, a financial coach for dads with a master's in neuroscience and psychology who helps fathers reach financial freedom. And today I'm going to give you 3 scientifically backed psychological practices that will help you be better with money today. All the personal finance advice pretty much centers on being good with maths, calculating how much you owe, how much you earn, but it negates completely the impact of the mind on your behavior. But you know as well as I do that the mind controls all of our behavior. So changing the way we think about money can change the way we behave with money. Changing the way we think about money can change our relationship with money, which in turn will make us better with money. So without any more delay, here are the 3 psychological practices that you can put into practice today. Number 1, leverage the power of dopamine. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter that helps you feel good when you move towards your goals and bad when you move away from your goals. If you don't have clear money goals, then it's hard for your brain to know when to feel good and when to feel bad. And it's also hard to know when enough is enough and when too little is too little. Now, it's not enough just to set any old goal. You have to be specific about your goal if you want your dopamine to help you. You see, words like more, better, or enough are very vague, and it doesn't allow your brain ever to know that it's reached its destination. So instead of setting goals like I want to be better with money, or I want more money, or I want to have enough, actually get a tangible number. So when you look at the number, your brain can go, hey, that's the number we're aiming for. If you don't have that tangible number, your brain's never going to know when to turn off and to stop feeling bad for not achieving your goal. By having very specific numbers, you're going to make it way easier for you to achieve your goals and to feel good with dopamine while you're going towards them. So you want to know things like how much do you want to save? How much do you want to spend? How much do you need to go on holiday? All of these numbers will help you in a great deal to make you feel less anxious about your money and more excited about saving that money. Now, this is pretty much what a budget is. It's taking all the money you have and putting it into places so you know exactly how much you can spend in each area of your life and not feel bad about it and actually start to feel quite good about these things. Now, if you're a little bit scared of budgets, then I've got you covered. In my community, there's a free budget that you can use. It's very easy to use. In fact, I'll hop on a call and help you if you don't know how to use it or you're having any trouble with it. Just check the link below. Okay. Now that you have your distinct, tangible goals in mind, the next thing you can do is number 2, think of the worst case scenario. Negative thinking gets a bad rap, but what if it could actually be the superpower that you need to help you with money? What if instead of hopelessly wishing for the best, you started to consider the worst case scenario? Now, there are 2 important psychological studies I want to show you that will highlight how impactful negative thinking can be, changing our behavior and making you better with money. First, there is Yang Pansep, sometimes known as the Rat Man. He was interested in seeing what was the biggest motivator, incentives or fear. Is it better to run towards something or run away from something? So he turned to rodents, as his name suggests. He tied a spring to the rat's tails and then put a bit of cheese at the end of the block. He then could measure how hard they pulled and for how long they pulled. When it came to cheese, he took that measurement as 1 unit, both the distance and the force. Then he took some cat urine and put it behind the rat, used a fan to blow it so it could smell it. It got scared, it started running, and then he measured how far it ran this time and how hard it pulled. And with fear behind the rat, it actually pulled at 4 to 5 times the unit of what it ran towards the cheese at. But it only did half the distance. So it seems that cheese can be a motivating factor, but you won't pull too hard towards it. But fear will really put you into action, but because you're scared, you won't run for as long. Now, this is when it gets really interesting. He thought, what happens when there's both fear and incentive? So he put urine behind the rat as well as cheese in front of it. And, would you know it, the rat ran double the distance of the cheese and pulled with a force of 18 times just the cheese on its own. The results show you that running away from fear and towards something good is the most powerful motivating factor you have out there. Now let's turn to humans and Gabriella Oettinger's work. What she did was get people together and get them to visualize their goals. And she tried a whole lot of different goal-setting mechanisms. But the one that was the most effective was when people thought about what they wanted, also thought about how it would feel to get this wish, thought about the obstacles in the way, negatively thinking about what could happen, and then planning for those negative obstacles. And what she found was when people thought about not just the best case, but also the worst case or obstacles in the way of getting to what they wanted, and then planned for it, they were far more likely to get their goals. In fact, they were 65% more likely to get their goals. But it was important that they thought about the negatives as well as the positives. This is known in psychology as mental contrasting. The point here is that running towards something is good, running away from something is better, but running towards something good as well as running away from something bad is the best situation you can have in terms of motivating yourself to be better with money. So instead of just thinking how great it would be to save more money, you would also think about how bad it would be not to save money, to be in the same position you are now in a year's time. The combination of those two things is going to help you be better with money today. So think about it, not just what is good, but also what is bad about not saving money or not being better with money. Number 3, implore the power of the Zeigarnik effect. The Zeigarnik effect is simply this. Our brain remembers tasks that are incomplete much better than it remembers tasks that are complete. So how do we use that to our advantage with money? Well, first, a story about Ernest Hemingway. Ernest Hemingway used to end every day of writing mid-sentence. He knew by doing this, his brain would obsess about where that sentence would finish. If he finished on a full stop, then that was the day closed and he would switch off. But by keeping an open-ended sentence, he allowed his brain to marinate on the idea. You see, your brain doesn't like to rest until that task is complete. So how do we use this concept with money? Well, what we do is we make sure we have our saving goals in place. We've already discussed how important it is to have a tangible number, a very distinct number. If every day you see how close you are to achieving that goal, then your brain thinks that task is incomplete, and so it is top of mind. By doing this, you actually activate a part of the brain called the reticular activation system. This is just a part of the brain that looks at the world and decides what's relevant and what's not. By seeing that we are incomplete in a task, we think, how could we complete this task? Well, we don't spend money and instead we save that money. A coffee may, instead of being something that is fun to have, may seem like a direct competition to completing the task. In order to take advantage of the Zeigarnik effect, what you want to do is set up some savings pots for whatever it is you're saving toward. If you have a distinct number in mind, then you can see how close you are to that goal. Check in once a week, and that should change the way you see the world to allow you to put some more money in there instead of spending it on discretionary things that you don't really need. All right, there you have it. 3 psychological tricks that you can use to be better with money today. Get a distinct goal in mind, use worst case thinking, and then activate the Zeigarnik effect. Now, if you would like to increase the chances you'll be rich by 200% this year using psychological tricks, you got to check out my webinar. Link is below. And if you want, join my community. It's down there too. See you soon.